This is day 3 of the 30-day challenge. Basically, the challenge was set out that we had to upload at least one video to YouTube per day for the next 30 days. So this video is going to be a sort of follow-on from the last video, where last video I spoke about the evolution of this room, where it all started back in 2016 when I first moved into this house, how it came up about to get this room and how far it's come since moving in. And now this video is the full tour of this room itself and how it is now in comparison to last time. Okay, so this is the last picture I had of this room prior to today, where I took a few more to show how the room currently looks. The differences I've made to this room aren't huge, but they do make a massive difference to the room itself in terms of upgrades. As you can see from this picture, I've already got the Go XLR, I've got the Stream Decks, I've got the microphone, the computer, the 3 monitors, keyboard, mouse, all of that I already had prior to today's pictures. But when we move on to the next one, as you can see, there are 2 big differences. First of all, there's no more PlayStation 4. That's been moved out of this room, put in the bedroom, and now it's been upgraded to the PlayStation 5, which, to be honest, although it's an amazing console, I don't use it as much as I maybe should do. And the other big difference is the camera. Rather than having the C920, which I did have for years, which as a starting camera for video recording, streaming, things like that, it is the perfect startup camera. But over time I did want to get something a bit more professional as such, so I did go for the Sony A5100. I use that anytime I stream, anytime I'm recording myself, anything I do with a camera, that's the camera I now use. Including this video here is recorded on that camera as well. So then obviously we got the PlayStation 5. I got that back in November last year when it was first ever released. I did manage to get a pre-order, so I got it on the day of release. To start with, I did use it a lot. I was still using it a lot up until recently. But I have recently moved over to PC gaming, so really the only time this console gets turned on is if I'm playing something like GTA, which seems to run better on the console. I imagine in the future, when more games come out for it, I will use it a bit more, but up until now I haven't used it a huge amount. And then obviously the Sony A5100, it does still have the stock lens on it. I would prefer a wider lens on it, but as it was, I bought this off Amazon, but I got a lot of vouchers for Amazon itself to be able to buy this camera, and on Amazon it was sold out, so that was the only other option I had. That sits on the standard boom arm behind the monitor I'm looking at. It does work quite well. I have had it in front of the monitor to get a different angle, but as it is, this is how I like it. Now, I also changed the background of my stream. Beforehand, this whole rack was just filled with DVDs. I had and still have a ridiculous collection of DVDs because for some reason I still prefer the physical copy of them, but I didn't like how it looked behind me, so I have taken most of the DVDs off, put them in a case, and I filled the shelf with a few other items. As you can see, the top shelf I put random items. You don't really see it behind me anyway, so that's the random one. Second shelf down is all my Space Jam pop vinyls, and behind that there are a few pop vinyls that I'm not so fussed about. The next shelf down is just random things I've collected. So you've got a SCUF controller, the Nacon, the wireless mouse, the AniPro 2 keyboard, a couple of bits my kids have made for me, so they're on there as well, an old graphics card, and the gimbal. And then below that is a few spare controllers for the Xbox and PlayStation, as well as all the PlayStation, Xbox, and PlayStation 3 and 2 games that I've collected. Now this is the overall picture of the room. So this is the newest, most recent image of how the room currently looks. I'm still using the same PC, I'm still using the same monitors, mouse pad, pretty much everything in this room is exactly the same minus the camera and the PlayStation. As we go through, there are a few additional things I've added, but for the most part it is almost the same. As you can see, the light bar that's underneath still works. It's still the same LEDs from when I first installed them. In this picture you can see a couple of collectibles I've got on the desk as well, a couple of Among Us characters, a 3D printed Gengar, and a Lego Marvin the Martian. It's just another angle. I did upgrade to the wireless phone charger as well. Massive game changer when you're sat in a room like this all night. Now, as you can see on the far right in this picture, ignoring the ugly wired mess underneath the desk, you'll see that the big change on that side of the room is actually the piano. I did buy that with full intentions of learning to play. I've always loved the idea of being able to play the piano, but I can never bring myself to spend the time to learn it as much as I should do. So it does just sit there. My son is currently learning to play the piano, so it was a good purchase for him anyway. As you can see also on the right, just below the piano, the downside of vinyl wrapping a desk. The chairs, if they rub against it, they do eventually wear out the corners, and it is starting to peel there. And the other thing you can see there is that the gaming chair I bought, the specific one I bought for this room, is currently sat at the other part of the desk because I do not use that at all. The only time I will use that chair is if my partner is also up here, purely because it gives her backache. So we switch chairs, I suffer with it, and I give her the cheap office chair that is actually the better of the two. Now, as you can see, all the wallpapers come from Steam's wallpaper engine. If you haven't got it already and you're on PC, definitely buy it. The amount you can get on there is just incredible. This one is just the same wallpaper on all three spanned across. But yeah, definitely if you've got a PC and you got maybe £3-4, I can't remember how much it is exactly, but definitely buy that. It's definitely worth buying. There's just a picture of the Go XLR. As you can see, I've still got the protective film over the top of it. For some reason, I haven't taken it off. Color coded in how I color the rest of my room in the green and purples. Most people color it in a way that they can see what's what, but I use it that little in terms of pressing buttons and things that it really doesn't matter. This is another picture. This is how the microphone sits. It does come across from behind me in front, so that when I'm not using it, I can push it out of the way, get it out of my face. But yeah, it sits across. Unfortunately, with the Blue Ember, there isn't a shock mount that you can buy for it that's small enough. Blue do have a shock mount, but it's more for the Yeti and something bigger, so I have had to wrap a microfiber around the microphone as well, just to get it a bit of a snug fit on this universal one. Again, just another picture. As you can see above me, the shelves aren't as hectic in terms of pop vinyls. There's not double stacks, double layers of them. It is a bit more organized up top thanks to sorting out the shelf behind me. You can also see the floodlight in the corner there. That's currently green, but again, a cheap purchase from Amazon just to help light up the rest of the room. You can see from this video, so this is the full span of the room. Starts off obviously PCs. This is where my partner sits if she ever does come up here, and there's the piano as well. So we've got all of that included, and just another quick video of how the room looks as a whole and where I sit. So this is how I see the desk as such. That mini Stream Deck I've got doesn't get used, so I've just found a way of making it a bit more RGB in the rest of the room. Now, this is just the overall on what's on the shelf behind me. So like I said, top shelf's a bit random, second shelf's pop vinyls, third shelf is a bit of collectibles I've got. I didn't mention it in the last video, but in terms of pricing, so the main focus on the last video was to show what you can do with somewhat of a tight budget if you were willing to save at times. If we were to quickly span across from what I've got here, like I said, it did take 5.5 years to get to this point. But I'd say I probably spent maybe £1,500 building the PC. The camera itself cost me around £350. The Cam Link was just a cheap one. It cost £20. Another recommendation, I would say, rather than buying Elgato's version. The PlayStation 5, £350. The monitors, £50 each, except the middle one was £180, but that was 5 years ago. Go XLR at the time, I think, was about £320. Stream Deck, I think, are still at £140 for the medium size. I think the mini's £80 at the moment. I couldn't tell you how much the Razer keyboard and mouse was, as they were both birthday presents. But yeah, as an overall, in terms of pricing, it's not the best setup in terms of how much everything costs. But I would say that over time, with a bit of saving here and there, you can get something similar to this. Nothing here is ridiculously good in terms of what you can get. Obviously, Go XLR is top of the line in terms of what else is on the market for that. But the camera itself is a budget mirrorless camera. PlayStation 5 I managed to get on release, so got it at the retail price. PC was basic parts, mid-range gaming PC, just so I could have something. But other than that, everything else is sort of on the lower end of what you'd expect to pay for things. So yeah, that's the overall room then. In terms of everything I wanted, I've currently got. There's only a few additional parts that I'm looking to get in the future, other than upgrades to the PC, the monitors, things like that. The main differences I want to make to how the room currently is. The first one being, I do want a new chair, and I have been looking at a specific one for quite a while now. But again, it's another one of those things that you don't just impulse buy. It's something you may have to save to get. The chair itself costs around £380, so it's not cheap, and which is why I haven't bought it just yet. But it is a Secret Lab chair. I haven't decided between the Omega or the Titan just yet, but it's going to be this chair, I believe, the Joker one. So if you just have a look, I mean, the chair itself is in the perfect color scheme for this room, purple and green. Fits perfectly with everything I currently have here. I believe in the next, say, 6 months, I'll probably have it, just through a case of maybe save a bit of money, get it when I believe it's feasible to buy something like this. I mean, the chair itself I'm on now isn't horrendous, so it's not something I need to go out and buy straight away. So other than that, I believe the room is how I want it at this point. I don't think I'll be changing anything else in the future for a long time, until maybe something new comes out or something else becomes necessary for what I want to do. At this point, I'm able to game, I'm able to video stream, anything I want to do in this room with the stuff I already have. Obviously, as I said, this isn't a flex, this isn't me trying to show everything off that I've got that some of you may not have. Like I said, this is something that's taken time to get to this point. If you like the video, there'll be another one tomorrow. I'm not sure what it's going to be about tomorrow's video, but there will be another one uploaded tomorrow, and again every day for the next 28 days at this point. If you like the video and you want to carry on watching them and see me through the next 30 days, like and subscribe. But thanks anyway. Cheers.